Hi guys, welcome to part 2 of Point Hard Book Club with 13 Tales of Horror. There was too many stories to get into one chat, so we decided to do 2 chats because we loved all of the stories. Yay! Thanks for joining, guys. Hi Karen, I just had you in. So the brilliant and awesome Karen Harding is joining us this evening. Hi everyone. Right, I just request Karen in. So yeah, little bonus hat for everyone. Hi Nikki. Hi Karen.
Yeah.
Hello, you alright?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. Thanks for joining us.
No worries.
Yay!
More books. There's like so many of these that we just didn't finish.
I
So.
know, I know. It's because there were so many good stories in this
Yeah.
anthology that I just couldn't pick. If anyone's got any problem with sound, let me know, because I have had problems the past couple of lives. But hopefully I've figured out what the problem is now. Fingers
Yeah.
crossed. Hi to everyone who's joined in. Last week, obviously,
Yeah.
we chatted about some stories. So we had Adam Caesar on, and you joined us as well, Karen. So yeah, Klein in the Caulfield, Adam Caesar.
Love that.
It's so good. It's so good. I love it. But yeah, so we chatted about in part 1. We chatted about the stories Where the Deer Are. House of Horrors, which won my dodgy poll.
Yep.
Dedicated to the One I Love. The Spell, Hacker, which is, I think
I,
that might be.
oh my god.
Did you read it now? Because you hadn't read it.
Toodaloo!
Toodaloo.
I can only hear it in your voice though when I read it because you had given me a few pointers of what happened in there. Every time that I went through all the little poems, all I could hear Shelley's voice. I was like, Shelley.
Toodaloo. And then finally, last time we chatted about A Little Taste of Death with its lollipop and very bizarre storyline. But yeah, I kind of liked it.
I honestly liked all of them during here.
Yeah, I think.
Some were well written and some were just bonkers.
But the thing is, as Adam mentioned in the chat in part 1, like, to stand out in an anthology, sometimes it's quite good to be a bit bonkers and a bit out there.
Yeah.
Might not get in the anthology, but in this one it did. You never know. But yeah, thanks everyone for joining in. Let us know. We'll try and cover as many as we can, obviously, in this part 2. We'll try and get through them. But if you've got a favourite you want us to talk about, let us know. If you want to jump on and join us and talk about your favourite, let me know. I can't do this like every single chat, but for this chat, yeah. So if you want to, let me know. I've got no issue, as long as like I've spoke to you before. You're not like a random stranger. That might be a bit weird. So in this anthology we had everything. So we had everything from like lollipops, hypnotism, waxwork. Oh, did I disappear then?
You did, yeah. Everything just froze for a second, so I was like,
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, it's all right. Someone must have done something downstairs and it sent like a password up to the iPad.
oh.
Hopefully it hasn't knocked the sound out. Let me know in the comments if it has. Apologies. So it's got a bit of everything in this book. So you've read the all of them now. So
I have. I'd read half of them because there was a good 4 or 5 that I hadn't read.
yeah. Oh, our cozy Liverpool home said it's the hacker. Yes, it's my husband, the hacker. It
I
is.
really what you meant though about the girl who comes in and says, "Oh, I don't know anything about PCs." Like, my God, I'm hacking the hacker.
Yeah, let's just hope I don't end up in a potted plant by the end of the night. If you don't hear off me after this chat,
Well, I do have a lot of cacti in my house. I'm just saying, never get in with.
that doesn't surprise me, Karen.
No.
You're obsessed with piranhas and all
I
that.
am.
So
Are they full of bodies? Who knows?
Who knows? So out of the remaining stories then, which story was your favourite to read? It's hard question.
You see me looking down, I literally had to make notes on everything, so I'm looking through the titles going, wow, which one? See, I really like Where the Deer Are from last week, that was my favourite, but I think The Doll.
The Doll?
Creepy as... I don't know, that any of those, like, the porcelain faces of dolls that you walk past and their eyes just go...
Yeah, and it's like they're watching you.
Okay.
Oh.
With I forget the friend's name, the friend who was like, oh, just turn the doll the other way around.
Yeah, so The Doll, so that's by Carol Ellis, who we have covered. We did Camp Fear, I think, on Point Hard Book Club. Raj has put, good pick, Karen. And inside the covers put, we're all obsessed with piranhas now.
Oh. I'm glad. Piranha's great.
So The Doll then, so it starts off with this like man finding this box on a beach. So it's kind of like a flash forward. And just to do like a rough synopsis kind of thing. So basically you flashes back to 3 months previous, where I think it's Abby, I think the name of the little girl, and Lindsay, which is her sister, and their divorced mum, have just moved into a new house. Abby is drawn to the house, specifically the attic. I mean...
Well, she spends an hour in there, specifically around in circles going, there's something in here, I know. How big is the attic? Like, I've got a fairly decent size one, it'll take me 5 minutes to go from one side.
Yeah, it took her a very long time in the attic. Yeah. She was very thorough. Narissa's put, Carol Ellis did The Body, which is one of Narissa's favourites. So, yes, we will do that one soon. So she finds this, after an hour, she finds this like sodden box pulsing with energy. And there's a doll, like a small dead child, inside the box.
Inside a coffin.
Inside, yes. I mean, no.
Her first idea is, I'll put that in my bedroom on my shelf.
Yeah.
No, I would.
I mean, that would definitely not be our first instinct, would it? A creepy doll. I mean, it doesn't say how creepy it is. It could have looked cute, I'm guessing.
Well, it did kind of say, I mean, I've got notes on this.
It says hatred in the eyes.
Yellow, white satin. It looks like a small dead child with shiny black hair. I was imagining the girl from The Ring, that he was going to start climbing out of the box and backwards.
I can do a good impression with my hair at the moment.
Keep everybody out. And it was like the dark eyelashes, the china face, the blue glass eyes, full of hatred.
Full of hatred. So you wouldn't put that on your shelf. 100%. Definitely. But Abby does.
How do you have hatred for somebody in 10 seconds? Never met.
No. But yeah. Abby decides, I'll pop it on my shelf. And as Narissa said, it would smell gross. It would smell all damp and musty and yes, yucky. So basically weird things start to happen. So Abby has her friend Erin over to stay as like a sleepover. And as you mentioned before, she asks if she can turn the doll round because she feels like the eyes are watching.
Yeah.
Probably are. So she turns the doll round, but then in the middle of the night, Abby has this kind of like dream about little hands. And Erin, is it Erin? Yeah, Erin gets tripped over. I mean, does she fall like down the stairs or something? I can't remember.
She said like she didn't fall the whole way down. Just all the way down the stairs and was. I'm assuming it's one of these massive houses that has like an expand. But she says she falls down just a little bit, and it's just enough for her to like really hurt her leg and.
So there's something really creepy going on. And then I think the most horrific one is then, as if that's not a bit of a warning, You know,
the tiny hand.
the tiny white hand.
Find a creepy doll and go, I'll take that with me. And then you see a dream of like a little hand coming in. It's not going to be in like the shape of a hand. This will be like this.
Like a little finger.
No. Yeah.
This tiny little hand. Oh dear. So then she has another friend over, you know, more glutton for punishment. Yeah. Come round. And that friend has a stained glass lamp in the kitchen, I believe, fall on her head. And smashes and cuts her head, and she gets rushed to hospital and things like that. So you know, Abby's starting to think a little bit, there's something a little bit weird here. Yeah. I mean, at that point...
Yeah, her mum doesn't even think at that stage, you know what, guys? Kids, don't invite your friends around for the moment. The house is falling apart. We'll wait until we can get the builders in.
Yeah, that's true.
The kids are...
Yeah, that's so true. It's like, oh wow, yeah. But you don't hear about these friends again, so we don't know if they lived or what happened really. And then finally, the third sinister thing that happens is her sister Lindsay's treehouse sets on fire. Yeah. And obviously, again, before all these things happen, Abby dreams of tiny white hands. So she's starting to think there's something very sinister going on. Yeah. Raj has put that doll needed throwing on the bonfire. They should have just thrown it in the fire of the treehouse and then be done with it.
I think a comedy theory on this, which we can loop back to at the end once we've done the other books, but I've got a comedy theory on what happened to this doll.
Oh, no, we want to hear it.
It's lols. It's probably not what happened, but it's just a lol.
And then inside the covers, I think the doll had a hold on Abby, which made her want to put the doll on the shelf. Oh, maybe.
Ooh, maybe.
So, like, it's got like...
Imagine. It's running.
Raj just put, how did no one suspect the doll? Well, yeah, especially when she's dreaming of tiny white hands.
Fairness, when was this written? Was it 91?
91 or 92?
When did all those films come out about like really creepy dolls like Chucky?
Chucky. So, well, my brother used to terrorise me with Chucky, so it must have been... It's got to be like 89 or something like that. So it must have been before this, I would think.
I'm just thinking if it's 89, they should have known. That would have been their like the movie of the month.
It's like Chucky. But yeah, so and then the creme de la creme at the end of the book is that Abby gets asked out on a date. Yay! Good old Abby. But again, before the date, I think it's before the date can even happen, something spooky happens in Abby's dreams with the tiny white hands. And then Mark, who's asked her out, she dreams of this car crash. Yep. He has a car crash and dies after swerving to avoid a small figure in the road, which is obviously meant to be the doll. I think
the doll was in love with her, but she opened the attic doll with hatred in her eyes, so love it.
Yeah, so the good old like doll person in a road, he swerves and he dies, but yeah, a bit extreme. And then all of a sudden Abby obviously realizes that the doll is evil. So she decides to get rid of it. And she put
how they find out the doll is evil, because it's their chocolate in the background
with hatred in its eyes. Oh dear. So she puts this doll back in its little coffin in the box, and basically she drives to this cliff and she hears these tiny fists banging.
I love that.
That was quite a spooky sentence, actually. Yeah. Like, imagine driving and you can just hear like these little tiny fists banging. That is quite sinister. Like, I would freak out.
But I wouldn't chuck it off a cliff either, because I'm like, well, it's held on by a small latch, right? So you chuck it over.
Yeah, and the ones if it like ran back to you.
Oh my god, up the cliff.
Up the cliff, tiny little hands up the cliff.
In the future, go near any cliffs, I'm gonna be like, oh, is there a doll down there?
Yeah, but she does throw it over the cliff, and then it loops back, obviously, to where this man finds it at the start, and
With
yeah,
the drums, dun, 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 dun.
Oh dear. So yeah, it's creepy. Nikki's put step on the box. Yeah. Like,
How did she not crack on the way? It's a cliff. If you throw like I'm not saying do this, but throw a human off a cliff, they die. How does
excepting the lifeguard.
But this is the porcelain doll, which is finely made. It's not going to survive rocks or a 60-foot drop.
No, but it's obviously a supernatural doll. But Nikki's put step on the box. I mean, would you step on the box? Would you burn it as inside the covers put? Is it a bit cruel to do that?
You're telling your mates, I think you're entitled to do it. My question though would be that if you got the doll and you stepped on the doll and it's broken, what's powering the doll? Does that then escape?
Oh yeah, it's like, it is quite a creepy story actually. Yeah, like when you think about it, like I was a bit distracted by the tiny little hands and that, but it was
comedy, but also one of those things that's going to stick in your head afterwards, and that like, oh god.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. It's like when I was younger. Oh no, I'm going to have to say the word, but my nan brought me a clown doll, and it looked exactly like the one off. I can never say the word, but I think I might have got it now. Poltergeist. Yes. It's years of saying it wrong. But yeah, she brought me this clown, and it used to like sit on the top of my wardrobe, and it's creepy. Like it just looked at me like when I was sleeping. I could feel it like looking at me in the dark, and it is creepy. I don't think I couldn't have like a doll or something like that anymore.
No, like little bears and plushies and things. I've got some behind me.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're cute. Like they're kind of adorable. Like they're not going to attack you, even though they're dressed up like a devil. Clowns and dolls. No, thank you.
Yeah, creepy. Arissa's put smash it with a hammer. Yeah, you could do, but if there's a sinister force, it might bring it back together, maybe. And Nikki's put she threw it off a cliff when she should have been just reversed over it, gone inside and had a cup of tea. Yeah.
That was everything.
Yes, definitely. And our Cozy Liverpool Homes put my nan brought me a clown on a swing. Had to have it up in case she visited. It was terrifying. That's the thing. We had to keep the clown up in case my nan came round.
This is why it was in the attic, I bet, probably because everyone else in the original book probably died.
Yeah.
Because they were too scared to have it out for when whoever gave it to them was not around.
Yeah, creepy.
But Aunt Sue comes.
Yeah. Larissa's put once the daughter got past 5, she asked me to get rid of any dolls she had. Oh, yeah. And inside the cover solved the solution. She should have thrown the box into a lake full of piranhas. Yeah. That would have solved it.
That is all they eat, just porcelain dolls.
So what was your do you want to share your theory about what happened?
I think these are the other books first, because my theory was a merging of the books.
Oh, I like it. Okay, no problem.
My theory.
So one of the ones I really wanted to talk about is Lucinda by I'm not sure whether I'm pronouncing this right, but I think it's Lael Littke. Yeah, I'm not sure. But she wrote The Watcher, which is part of the Point Horror series, and I actually, that one is actually a good one. We'll have to do it for Point Horror Book Club. What's this? Hang on. Eddie's put when I was little, I was brought a good guy's doll. like Chucky, is that? I think it was my mum. She didn't know it was the actual Chucky doll, and neither did I. Oh no.
There's a reason you like your horror movies, mate.
Yeah. And Nerissa's put there's a reason there's a piranha on our keychain logo. Yeah, definitely. So Lucinda, for me, I know not many people. I don't know whether many people like this story, but
yeah, it wasn't one of my top ones in the book. It was fine, but
I think for me, so just to summarise just quickly on it, so a girl called Kate witnesses a girl called Lucinda disappear, and her brother Brandon basically 6 years later, I think, return to their hometown. And Kate is determined to discover the truth of his brother's girlfriend's disappearance, which happened like 6 years previously. But I think what happened, I mean, yeah, there are some like silly bits in this, but it was the whole flooded town and drowned town that I thought was, and it's really intrigued me to read more books that feature that kind of.
It was actually a real. It was in. I don't know if you read like the very end. There's like authors about, and it was something that was in here that I read. Let me see if I can find it. But it did say that was actually a real.
Yeah, she based it on like a real town. Yeah.
Yes, it's based in Lake Isidora, which is a real town that was moved when the nearby river was dammed and the valley was flooded. So, yeah, it's Lake Isidora, and you can go to the sea.
So until I read this book, I've never really thought about like drowned towns kind of thing, and they do actually make quite a good horror setting. So if anyone's got any book recommendations or anything with like drowned towns or horror film recommendations similar, then I'm really quite intrigued, because it's something I've never really thought about before.
Yeah, I'm not else at all.
It sounds really cool. So in a haunting kind of way.
Yeah.
So basically, the lake in the town, it was flooded. It's like a drowned town, and Brandon and Lucinda used to dive down when it was flooded into the drowned town, like underneath. And I found that really like just sinister and like scary. Like
it would be dark, and it wouldn't be like one of these lovely clear freshwater areas. It'd just be like,
yeah. But can you imagine like diving down and there's like a whole town and things that have been left down there, like I think there's a mention of like bicycles like coming up to the surface and things like that. I just find it creepy. So when they go back in the future, so the 6 years after this disappearance, the town is dried up, and it's slowly revealing the town that was underneath this lake, which again I found really creepy, just like slowly revealing. So there could be like dead bodies under there could be anything.
But wouldn't there be a lot of silt, because water moves anytime you've got anything that's been flooded, or like if you think of any of like the New Orleans where they've had all the water hit them, just mud and slush and silt from anything that's
could be. So basically, Lucinda had a secret place with where she used to go. So I presume she used to dive down and have this secret place. And obviously now the town is revealing itself. I think Kate knows or has a feeling where this secret place is. And then randomly you get introduced to these other characters. So there's Holly, who she still has a thing for Brandon all these years later. And then Keith, who apparently in the 6 years has turned buff. And Kate kind of fancies him a little bit. And Holly just keeps reiterating, doesn't she, that Lucinda just ran away and there is nothing sinister that's gone on.
Absolutely nothing at all.
Yeah, sus. Very sus. So there's like kind of this ghostly element to this short story where this ghostly dripping kind of leads Kate to this ghostly cellar where it's got like a loose floorboard, and she goes down because obviously it's all where it's been dried up, and you can actually get in there now without having to dive down. And long story short, Holly, shock horror, killed Lucinda 6 years previously because she wanted Brandon all to herself. And apparently she dived down and put Lucinda's body in the cellar, obviously not expecting the town to dry up and reveal its secrets. And then Keith comes in, saves the day, saves Kate from Holly. And
really hand wavy.
That's kind of it.
Picture and goes, and then just walks off and doesn't say anything. And then from looking at the photo that she's looking at, realizes that that must be the place that she's going to, that random basement.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the picture. I forgot about
that. Like, you were looking at a random photo and just like studying it a little bit more than you would any other photo. I wouldn't go, you know what, I better go over there because maybe she's in trouble and maybe, dive down to this place a random you're in. We can say
good old kid.
Flimsy connection. I was kind of laughing a little bit at that. So.
Yeah, I mean, dodgy storyline aside, a little bit, it was the setting for me in this one. It just got me. And it reminded me. Have you ever seen a film called Stir of Echoes?
No.
It's obviously it's nothing to do with the drowned town as such, but it's about, I won't give it away, but it's about something that reveals secrets. And it kind of gave me those kind of vibes, and because I really love that film. It's got Kevin Bacon in it, and it's really really good. But it kind of just gave me those kind of vibes. I
like they have the red graduation gown, because when Lucinda's disappeared at the start, I think it was on graduation day, and she was like messing about at the lake with Brandon in her red gown, and then you like over the series of this story you just see this red gown suddenly appear, and Brandon's like sobbing because he's seen a red gown, and it's just Holly running around cackling in the forest. Like, running through the forest and seeing the other characters whilst just blatantly wearing red all the time, like, please look at me, I'm totally the murderer, giving it away.
I mean, it was so obvious. So obvious. But that red gown, I did like the imagery at the start, where we're in like the past before Lucinda disappears, and she's obviously in the, as you say, in the red graduation gown, and she like dives down, doesn't she? So she has this argument with Brandon, and she dives down, and you kind of see it describes like the red dress, like on the water kind of thing, and I just think imagery wise and setting,
that's
brilliant, but storyline, a bit pushing it. A little bit.
Holly as well, where she's been in love with him, and as soon as she's gotten rid of Lucinda, Brandon's disappeared off, because they were all coming back to the town. It wasn't that they were there the whole time, they were just like coming back for, I can't remember the reason why, actually.
No, I can't remember.
But Holly has basically been staying there as the only person that stayed in the town, writing letters to Brandon for 6 years. You would think that as you age, you're high school age at the start, right? So it's 6 years later. You get a little bit more mature, and you meet human beings. You don't just sit there in your basement going, just one letter.
Well, no. Depends who it is.
I'd have given up. I'd have been like, okay, it's been 6 years and nothing's come back.
Yeah.
You're like, are you sure? Okay, no.
So it had its flaws, but it was just had a creepy vibe, and Raja said Lucinda was creepy, and it just had that kind of one. Inside the cover said, I thought it was pretty cool. Nerissa's got a recommendation, Imaginary Girls. I'm just going to jot that down so I don't forget. So is that a book, Nerissa? Let me know. Imaginary Girls. Right, I've written it down because I'll forget.
I wonder if that would be very deep.
That would be very deep. Yes, no, it would. Definitely. So another one of the stories, I know you liked this one, and and I really like this. And I had quite a few people
Yeah.
DM me about it. So I'm just going down to it. So The Boy Next Door.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So by Ellen Emerson White. Ellen Emerson White didn't write any point horrors as such, but did apparently write a book called Santa Paws.
That's amazing. Is it about puppies though at Christmas?
Santa Paws.
It's just cute.
And apparently under a different name wrote a lot of Vietnam War stories. So yeah,
so strange.
Very random. Yeah, teleproducer.
Which likes to do more like the horror or the
yeah, it'd be really interesting to know. But yeah, teleproducer, love this one. I know he DM'd me and said, "Oh, I really love the Boy Next Door," so I definitely wanted to get it in.
It's got a special feature just for you of ice cream.
Ice cream. Oh no! Don't wave the thing like in The Spell. Woo!
Wait, you want to use a pen? Ice cream.
Ooh. I'll just go and commit some murder.
If you don't know what we're talking about, last time we did this, go check out the first part.
The first part. So The Spell by Mr. Stein was, yeah, it's delicious. So The Boy Next Door then, so is set in a small town. It's winter time, and in this town, everyone knows everyone. And it's set in like this ice cream parlour, which is still open during the winter, which is amazing, really. It must have good custom.
Well, quiet the whole way through, and I'm like, no wonder. Like, they've only got her working alone because they have customers. I'm like, well, just close, man. Just open in the summer. Turn it into a Waffle House or something. Like,
But yeah, they keep selling the ice cream, don't they? And this is where Dorothy works, and she's working this late shift, and she can't wait to finish because she wants to watch Miss America with her best friend Jill after work.
When I was reading this, I kept yelling out to a house. I live alone, so I kept really yelling out to no one, Sandra Bullock! Because when I read that, they was about wanting to see Miss Congeniality. Who is it? And I'm like, it's Sandra Bullock!
Oh yeah. Oh dear.
One where like Mrs. Crichton has died because they put a baby in the carriage and pushed it into the road. I'm like, that's from Speed. It's Sandra Bullock again.
So Ellen Emerson White was just ripping off Sandra Bullock movies. I love that.
Been made yet, so.
I love that. I never got that connection until you just said. Oh,
I like those films, but I just read it and went, Miss Congeniality? Oh. I don't think I go, like, we don't really get Miss America over here, obviously being the UK.
Yeah.
I realised that Miss Congeniality was even a thing. I thought they made that film. So when I read this, I was like,
oh dear. But yeah, so basically Dorothy and Jill love Miss America, so she can't wait to finish her shift. And Jill kind of comes into the shop, doesn't she, just to see Dorothy, and she mentions that she's been to a funeral, and the funeral was packed out, and apparently it was for one of the teachers, who's the meanest teacher ever in the town. So Jill kind of quickly abandons her because she's got to get back to Miss America and start watching that before Dorothy gets there. So when locking up the diner, Dorothy, there's like a knock on the door, and Dorothy sees Matt there, who's like a boy that she once dated, and has known for years. So she doesn't think anything of it really. She kind of just lets him in, you know, even though she's locking up.
That ex, and not someone that they've like they put it very specifically. We dated once. It wasn't great. And we never saw each other again. We just go, all right, in the hallway. Let him in. Be like, no.
It's true. Why would you?
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose it's like a familiar face. So he just wanted a bit of ice cream, you know, and she's like, oh, I'll let him in. Well, she thought he wanted ice cream. So she lets him in, and he soon makes it very clear that he wants to kill her, just because he wants to see what it's like to kill someone. Now, that is sinister. That got me a bit, because that's scary.
There was a big thing around on like TV. There was like TV and the new computer games that were coming out at that point were totally going to cause everyone to turn into murderers. That's the only reason for it. Not that they had, you know, mental health disorders or, you know, problems with medications, or just were like slightly off the rails and needed help. It was purely because they were watching bad TV shows and bad games that had gun violence.
Yeah. No, definitely. But I mean, it is just kind of a scary, it's just a scary thought that, I mean, it was just because I think he says a bit later on, doesn't he? She's saying, why are you doing this? And he's just like, because you're a nobody. You don't mean anything to anyone, kind of thing. And I don't know, I just found that really, really sinister, really sinister. So it kind of hooked me in then. At the start, I was a bit like, meh. And then as soon as that happened, I was hooked. Yeah, definitely. Raj just put, Matt had serious issues. Yes.
Yeah,
he really did. So he had a gun and everything, and his plan is to make it look like the diner has been robbed, and basically kill her because, as I said, she just doesn't stand out enough for his liking. And really cleverly, Dorothy takes control, doesn't she? And she picks apart his plan. What did you think of Dorothy, like, in that? The way
really
that she...
cool, because I was like, if I was in that situation, I would just be like, oh, it's been a nice life.
just do it.
Have an ice cream scoop. That's not against the gun. But no, I did think it was really cool the way that she turned it around and was saying, like, well, you know, there's no point in, you know, wasting that first time on me, because I think nothing of you, and you just told me you think nothing of me. So what's that going to prove? Do it on somebody you hate.
Yeah, like, I just thought, what a brilliant character that she turned out to be. Like, she kept very chill and very calm, like, throughout. And you kind of, and like, she thinks, doesn't she, if she keeps him talking for so long, that her parents will call the store, and then etc.
If you got into that situation and you could remember, like, memorize that one story, do you think that you could pull it off with someone? Like, be like, talk them down, go on, you leave, we'll do this together later.
Yeah, because they kind of like, she confesses, doesn't she, basically? She tells him she's got this story, and you kind of think, like, did you think, like, she was making it up?
Yeah. This is why I like this one so much, because I got to the end, I was like, what? Like,
yeah.
what?
So she kind of tells him this story, doesn't she, of, she's like, oh, you can't kill me because I've got a confession to make, and you're the only one that I'm going to tell. And it's just, it's so clever. And so basically she tells this story of how she hates this meanest she hated this meanest teacher, and she's the one that killed the teacher by waiting on a corner, like, side of a road, which kind of gave me April Fool's vibes at the beginning. Yeah, it's
all the cliffs, it's like, wait,
and so, and then she pushes this empty pram out into the road, so Sandra Bullock style. So the car with the teacher in, I forget what the teacher's name was now. Yes, that's it. So she swerves the car and goes off the cliff and dies. And her plan works, because apparently that is what happened. Like, she kills this teacher. So
as well, them her saying, like, once it was done, you know, I realized that there was some paint on the side of the art, so I just took it to this area where I could just, like, throw it off this other cliff and it would be fine, because there's so much junk down there. Okay.
Yeah, but she
Like,
thought
others,
this.
like murder weapons at the bottom.
Yeah, yeah. Can you imagine? And she thought this out very well. And you know, Matt believes all of this, and you know, I was still at a point as a reader thinking she's just been very clever and got him out of this diner with this story. Like, we'll meet on Monday, and then we could do a murder together, kind of thing. And you kind of think,
go to the cops and tell them to go and like stand here.
yeah,
when he comes in.
Yeah, that's it.
It's like, that's genius.
And so she gets rid of him out of the diner, and then you're kind of thinking, wow, Dorothy is well kick-ass.
Yeah.
I love her. She's like cool, calm, collected. She took control.
And then she mopped the floor.
Then she mopped the floor before she left.
I was like questioning stuff at that point, because like, would you not call the police? Like, the second he's out, my thing would be lock the door, turn off the lights at the front, and go and call the police out the back. So
yeah.
safe, get an escort home. But no, because like the guy had punched I thought this was really funny when he came in to try and make it look like a robbery. He punches this big glass thing that's full of coins and tips and things for the and he just punches it and it smashes everywhere. I'm just like, but I just mopped.
But I just mopped. That was brilliant. That was brilliant. But yeah, so and I loved it because at this point I was fully sold that she just got herself out of that. She was going to go home, watch Miss America with a friend, and then you get that clever twist of when she gets there and to Jill's house, I presume it is. Yeah. Miss America's on, and she's like, Jill, we're going to have to do it again. And it's like, obviously,
no.
I was like, oh, no way. And then I just really wanted more. Like, I needed more. I just wanted to see who she was going to murder. Well, I knew she was going to murder Matt, but like what she was going to do after. Who else has she murdered before? Because it turns out they've done it maybe numerous times before. Because Jill's like, oh, you know, why? Why are we going to do it again?
The imagery is at least 5 or 6 times. It wasn't just like they'd done it once to Mrs.
Yeah, definitely gave the impression there was definitely more.
Yeah.
But what a story. I really loved this one. I really loved it. I'm surprised. I was quite surprised that this didn't win my dodgy poll.
Yeah, it's really, really high up. I think the dull one for me purely because of its creepiness, and I just really like the kind of noise. Ever like she was laughing and giggling, and then equally looking at her. That to me is what way more horror. It's more like cool murder mystery as opposed to. Yeah,
and it's one that I think would translate to like a film.
It would be great.
It would be such a good film. Teleproducers put it gave me Midnight Mass vibes. Now I haven't seen Midnight Mass yet. With the small town setting. So, okay. I'm going to watch that definitely because I'm now a Mike Flanagan fangirl after the Midnight Club. Raj has put, this was a really good one. I feel like each story was described so well. This anthology could be made into a TV series. It so could, really could. A few people saying I love Midnight Mass. Raja's put, why didn't she just push him into the ice cream freezer so he could chill out for a while and think about what he said? Yeah, it's because Dorothy had other plans. She was like, well, we don't know how they do it. Like, how do we think that they kill Matt? Because it's going to happen off page. How did they kill him? Maybe that's how they killed him.
Poisoned ice cream.
Nikki's put, she should have offered him free ice cream. He might have changed his mind. Yeah.
Ice cream does solve problems.
Yeah, definitely. And Raj has put, he was a silly little boy. Yes, he was, but he's going to be a dead little boy next. Teleproducers put, the unreliable narrator was really clever. Yeah, I think, like, for me,
my favourite for anything like that. If you've got someone who does that, I'm like, yes.
I think it was just as well. I didn't expect it. I didn't expect it to be an unreliable narrator. I just thought it was just a little story of how she talks her way out of it. So that I just did not expect.
Yeah.
That whole twist at the end. Lots of people say Midnight Mass is good, so I definitely need to watch that soon. Inside the cover, all of the stories were spooky. I think much more spooky than regular point horror books felt. Yeah. Do you think that, Karen, in this book?
I mean, these are the ones that have stayed with me for ages. I was actually talking about this with one of my friends. Was I've forgotten the name of the one where the girl gets her throat slit at the end.
Dedicated to the one I love. Yeah.
I'd read maybe one or two of these, but not all of them. And I'm very when I was a kid, because I always have this thing with any movies that if my friends tell me something after I've watched a movie or read a book, if we've read it together, like creepy things like, this is going to happen to you in this way. For some reason, my brain just keeps it comedy, but at the same time, my brain also goes, maybe. So for years, every time I come out of my bedroom, I'm always like, look up just in case. Think of it so I can jump back and save myself. It's ridiculous. And it's from this book. And I was reading it going, that's where that came from. My God, this is stuck in my head. And I completely didn't know what story it came from or anything. It's
wow.
Out of this book. So
that's amazing. It's amazing how like things that we read as a teen or watched when we were far too young to watch, like
the Blair Witch Project effect.
yeah. It's like as I said before, the Poltergeist film. I didn't realise until every time I say it now, I do a little cheer inside. I didn't realise how much that had actually like scarred my brain until I rewatched it for a podcast that I was doing, and I rewatched it all these years later, and I was like, that's why, like, I can't, when I go to bed at night, I can't stand like a shadow across the ceiling, and it's because of that film with the tree and things like that. And so it's amazing how much of an impression these things have on us.
It's a good thing though, because I do writing outside, like just for myself. I'm not published. And there's a lot of writers that are in this group as well, but I'm fairly certain they have the same thing of just, if you know it sticks with you like that, put it in the book. Like, and similar, like the same feel, the same like intensity, stick it into your book.
Yeah. Oh, that's good advice.
Go and creep out some 10-year-olds.
Definitely, and
the rest of their lives.
I was going to say that will scar them for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
If I publish, that is my goal.
You will get published. So I do think, like, in many years to come, The Boy Next Door would be one of those stories that would stick in my mind when I talk about this book. Definitely, 100%.
With that one.
Yeah. Did you have any others that you picked out? Death Flash.
I love Death Flash. Like, it's for the same reason that you like all of the underwater town. I just thought that was a really, really super cool idea of like you've got the whole story of, I think, is it Marissa? Yes, Marissa's driving to pick up her little brother from soccer practice, knocks over this cat that's run into the middle of the road with its cat friend. One of the cats disappears, and then she's obviously like smushed this cat to death. And she's looking for this other, like, she goes to put this other cat in the trash. As you do. You don't bet or anything, make sure it's chipped in case it's someone's cat. You just stick it in a dumpster. But then she sees this like creepy thing called the It. Yeah, that's chased this cat into the road to kill it. And as it's dying, it lets out this bright light that's like the shape of a really cute, adorable kitten. And the It thing eats it. And I was like, so like,
it's creepy. It's really, really creepy. Yeah. Like, 'cause it doesn't really explain, does it, really what this It is?
It doesn't, no. You see it later though, because it's like, it keeps appearing in the story, and it runs past, and you can see there's like a human being, like much like the little porcelain hands. There's a human being, porcelain handing on the side of this It. And there's like other cats and other creatures, and like all stuck inside and glowing. I was like, that's such a cool image. Like, it's stuck in my head of this kind of really creepy. For some reason, it looks like a cat on the outside to me. But its belly is full of all of these creepy golden like energy beams shaped.
Yeah.
It was so cool.
I mean, it really was a creepy story, because
Yeah.
the thing that stuck with me, I wrote a line down for this where I think Marissa says, even murderers don't swallow the life out of their
Yeah.
victims.
And that was great. I was like, that makes them seem so nice in comparison to this.
That's what I mean. It made you kind of think like, oh, so this it is like worse than a murderer. It's like, it was just a one-liner, and like I was really like, I don't know, I wrote it down straight away because it just really stuck with me.
It's like the nothing from Neverending Story. It just, and then that's it. You're done. Like, you can't, whatever you think happens to you after you die doesn't happen. It's like, you can't go to heaven, you can't be reincarnated, you can't do whatever is supposed to happen to you.
Yeah, you just get swallowed by this it thing. Yeah. And there's one little thing that did make me laugh in this story, was when it was like, was it her dad's friend's friend died in this horrific accident in a warehouse.
It was Final Destination, that.
Yeah. And it was like,
oh no.
Yeah, it was.
I was waiting for someone to get like a gun, one of those what are they called?
The nail gun things.
And just have that.
Yeah, but it just kind of made me laugh because, like, we do all have like a friend of a friend of a friend who's done like something or other, and it just kind of like made me laugh a little bit because I just thought it was like random, because this friend of a dad's or whatever, it like convinces her that this thing is real, and I'm like,
how small is the town? Because more than one person that died that day. Like, it's an American town, right? So in most American, they're not just have one person that kicked the bucket.
No, definitely not. And then obviously, I think towards the end, because she takes one of the cats home, she gives it to her brother, and she kind of confides in the brother that there's this thing that's after me, it's going to kill me, it's a death flash, it will swallow me up to when I die, kind of thing.
And I love the rules as well, because that was very much like that's Final Destination, very much like that again, where you had the like, you must have a sheet over you, you can't like have your feet outside of the bed, or you can't sit in the darkness because the light will help you. Awesome, like, checklist of how to survive. That is scary. It's scary.
And I think does the cat give birth to kittens?
Yes, that was how they survived, was that they basically, you'd turn the light on, they put the torch on, except the it had enough, I guess, energy, power, whatever, to take out the lights and to drain the batteries. I was like, that's so creepy. Like, you've got, like, what I think would actually work would be like, oh, it's not on the electrics, it's battery, and it's got enough power that it just goes, nope, you can't have that either. Now you're done. And then this kitten has babies, and there's a life, as opposed to a death flash that happens when you die with the little cat. As the babies come out, you get a life flash. And it's it.
Yeah, it's like, it does make you think, like, I didn't dare like Google whether this is actually, because they do go into a little bit of a sciencey explanation, but I wonder if this is like a real thing, like a scientific thing. I never thought to look it up, but
it felt like an episode of Ghost Hunters.
It felt a bit X-Files, didn't it?
Yeah,
a bit X-Filesy to me. But the only thing is, like, now I think about it, I found it annoying a little bit while I was reading it, but now I think about it, it's actually creepy the way it was emphasised, like on the sentences, like in italics. And when I was reading it, I kept thinking, oh, okay, I get it, like, kind of thing. But now, like, it makes it more sinister doing it that way. Yeah, stands out a lot more. But yeah, it was like a creepy one. We haven't done any. Oh, sorry, Karen.
No, I just really liked the. I said this before, but I really like the imagery of it more than just the story. I think that would stick in my head a lot more as something that would creep me out.
Yeah.
It
was well scary, but we haven't done any A Bates on Point Hard Book Club. I did interview Her name's Orleen, and I did interview her on my blog.
Yeah.
And I found her quite fascinating, like to interview, because just she lives in the middle of nowhere and she hasn't really got internet and stuff. So she's kind of, and I think it does say that in the back of this book.
Horror time. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and like I think in the back of this book it says something about little is known about Orleen Bates or something like that. I read it somewhere in there, but yeah. Yeah, but if you do read the interview on my blog, it has got a couple of spoilers in for Point Horror books, so just to be aware. But we'll definitely have to do the Dead Game or Mother's Helper or something next year, maybe, just to see, because I quite like the Dead Game. It gets a bit of a bad rap, but I quite like it.
So I'm going to give you my theory, because we've done the book that relates. Okay.
Yeah, go on.
This is purely for lols. This is not a legit thing. It's just I read it and went, wait, these can connect up. I like doing this. Where does that story go after it finishes?
Yeah,
because they're all in the same thing. I was kind of looking at this, going, well, maybe all of these could be parts of one tale. A little bit like the Midnight Club are all parts of one tale, even though they're separate. And I thought, well, what if the it was actually like it's the girl from the boy next door. So at the end of it, she set the boy up to go and murder him. It goes wrong and she gets killed. So she goes to the underworld and gets sent back as like an energy absorbing force called the It, who then goes around basically getting energy to survive. And then after all of this stuff is happening, she becomes that doll. So the doll that's going around, that's been there, is powered by the It. So when the doll's running around being like creepy and pattering feet,
yeah,
the doll that's like running around, you don't really see what the It looks like, and it's the doll.
Oh, I like it.
So then she didn't actually. The only thing that she didn't see was that obviously the pregnant cat could absorb back her powers and send her back to the underworld to be gone forever. So when the cat gives birth, then she diminishes and goes back.
Oh, I like that, Karen. See, yeah. This is why you're a writer. This is why you are a writer. I love it.
Like they all did the same clifftop thing, so they've been, chucking stuff off to the guy at the bottom.
Interesting. Oh, I like that. No, I like that theory. I really like it. I want you to write it now. That could be a new Point Horror.
That would be a dream. If Point Horror got back in, I would totally be like, can I write?
Yeah, can I write this? Inside the cover said, I watched a lot of horror when I was young. It was A Nightmare on Elm Street. Yes, that scarred me. Yes. I can't watch it now even. I was convinced I saw Freddie's hand in the bathroom mirror one evening. Really freaked me out. Yeah, that would scare me. And Marissa's put the urban legend humans can lick too is 100% the reason I never have space under my bed. Yeah.
All of these things that I realise as an adult that I do like without thinking, and I'm like, it's because these movies and books. My God.
So true. Oh, Raj.
The monsters can't get you.
Oh dear. Raj liked Death Flash, and Raj put it sounded terrifying because it was everywhere. Yeah. And yeah, everyone's saying they like your theory. You're just for lol's theory. Yes.
I can't say more in case anyone's messaging to me. The last one I can see is that would be very deep from that point in Pike Street.
Oh. Yeah. Raj said she likes your theory, and Nikki put like a shocked face.
I hadn't even thought of how they connected to any of the other ones yet, but you never know.
You never know. So what haven't we chatted about? Let me have a little look. We've done the spell.
I can't pronounce it. Guiccioli Miniature? Or did we do that last week?
Oh no, we didn't do that one. Okay, we'll chat about that because it's like really super short. I think it was about 6 pages. So is it? How do we say this? Is it the? I don't know how you say it.
I was actually in a reading at the time, and said, "Oh, I'm reading this," and like, well, how do we say this? And I was like, "Is it Guiccioli? Guiccioli.
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 Guiccioli."
my Instagram of like 5 of us going, "Good job."
So yeah, if there's anyone Italian watching, we do apologise for our pronunciation. But yeah, we'll go.
Like, apologies to all nations at any point for anything that we try and pronounce, because it's
so bad. But yeah, we'll go with Guiccioli Miniature. So this is by Jay Bennett. It was the shortest story in the book. I think it was like 6 or 7
least point horror-y themes ever. It was like just
well,
it's a horrifying thing to happen, because you would go like, oh dear God. But
yeah,
something was trying to attack and murder you. It was just like, whoops, as opposed to anything else.
Oopsies! It sounds like something I would do. But I did notice in the front of the book, it'll be inverted. But if you have a look at the front, this short story, the Guiccioli Miniature, it actually says copyright 1975.
Really?
So yeah, so it must have been. I don't know. It must have been an old story. Oh, previously published in the New Book of Knowledge. Oh, okay.
Is it real? Should we go and start digging around some canals?
So it must have been just something that was maybe slotted in. I don't know, but it definitely, everything else says 91, 92, and that says 1975 under that short story. So that was interesting. But yeah, so the Guiccioli Miniature. Now I know how to say it, there's no stopping me. So it's set in Venice. And there's this young student called Jerry who's approached at night. I think it was at night. In the shadows, by this poor painter who asked him to buy a copy of this Guiccioli Miniature. So we can survive and basically live. And all he wants is $10. So do you know what? It was $10. So did they use $10 like in?
No.
No.
I was like, okay, so you're from here, but would you not want the local money?
Yeah.
In euro at the time, would it? Because it would have been they changed the euro after this.
What?
I
only just realised that about the $10 when I said it out loud.
I mean, he's American, so maybe that's why he said $10. But surely, if you're in local currency.
Oh dear. So apparently this Guiccioli, I'll stop saying it like that now. The Guiccioli Miniature was something that Lord Byron made to carry around with him of his love, was it?
Yeah.
And when he was away from his love.
Yeah, it's from his poetry, I think. So.
And apparently the copy that this guy is selling is a really good copy, and you can't tell it apart from the actual original. And basically, he's convinced that this thing is cursed.
Yeah, I'm sure that they said that he kept going in there for like, was it 10 minutes or half an hour at a time to try and get what he could before he got thrown out. It's like, you're allowed to get like an open, like in Venice, it's an open art gallery. You can just walk straight in. Spend the day. Like, 10 minutes, get out.
Oh dear.
It's like a normal thing.
So apparently Jerry is repelled by this painting. He's convinced it's cursed, and he starts to imagine things in the mirror. Which isn't, it's not as scary as it sounds.
This was jet lag because he just got in.
Yeah, it's like, oh.
Yeah, just needed a good sleep.
But he hears something like in his hotel corridor, which was kind of creepy. I thought, that's kind of creepy. But there's no one there when he checks, and then he gets that paranoid about this miniature painting that he throws it out of his window into the canal. So he litters and throws it into the Venice Canal. And then you kind of get to the end. I mean, it's very, very short, but you kind of get to the end and you actually discover that painting was actually the real deal. and absolutely worth a fortune. And the old man was a thief that had double-crossed his partner. So basically, he chucked something that could have been worth an absolute fortune in the Venice Canal. So we've all been there.
Depending on the paint, it might be okay if you just like send a diver in.
But yeah, it was like, it came to quite an abrupt end. Like, I didn't expect it to be so short.
I just wonder what the guy was thinking would happen to the painting after, though, because if he's stolen it and he's this like huge thief on the run, does he think he's either going to take it on a plane and no one's going to ask? Like every single person there, like the other guy gets arrested, oh, it's his fault. Or that, like, what's going to happen if he just doesn't take it? Chucks it in the canal, like, it's, you know, is he going to try and chase him down and find him?
It's just how he gets so convinced that this item is cursed. It's like, why does he even think it's cursed? Like, just because he sees something weird in the mirror, which is just his pasty face, like tired face.
I really think it's jet lag, because it's the same thing if you go on holiday somewhere, you've flown across like half the world, and you completely different time zone, you're out of whack, you're knackered from traveling and carrying bags and whatnot. And then you spend the day walking around and dealing with like random strangers from a foreign country that are just really bizarre to talk to. You're gonna get back and go, oh, there's a really creepy like noise in the corridor, there's like some weird stuff happening. Just go to sleep, man. Just have a meal and go to sleep. Wake up in the morning and make...
Oh, poor Jerry.
Yeah.
Poor Jerry. But I mean, it's not actually like a horror story.
No,
or any...
like, oh, damn it.
anything scary in it. Well, apart from the horror of realising that it was worth a fortune. But yeah, it was kind of a random one for the collection. I think like it was my least favourite.
Yeah. It could have made it better if it actually was cursed. He's throwing it in the canal and he gets back home up the ceiling.
And it's there.
On his wall. And it just follows him. Like,
like the doll.
Battering hands. Never to be your
But it was a weird one. It was random.
There's a bit like the one that ended. I forget which one it was. Was it Science one or something that ended really super fast at the end? Was it Black Call maybe?
Might be. Oh, we'll talk about that one.
Yeah, one of them ended really fast. I forget which one it was, but it was like, here's a really long story, and then in a page, and it felt very much like run out of time and realised they had 10 seconds left. And this is what that one felt like. Like he. Like Jay Bennett, I think it was, who wrote it, who up and said, yeah, of course, I've got loads of time to do this, hand it in, and then wakes up to like another phone going, this is due today, and he's like, oh my god, I can only write a page and a half. Okay, go, that'll do. That's horrible.
I like it. I bet that's what happened, definitely. But we didn't get any point horror from Jay Bennett, who I believe is now dead. But apparently he did do 23 young adult novels. But I'm not sure. I'd have to do a bit of investigation as to which ones. But yeah, it's kind of it has intrigued me. Yeah. And knowing what it says in the front of the book has intrigued me a little bit more as to why was it included. So I might actually do a bit of investigation on that and see. But yeah, I think it was my least favourite because it just wasn't horror enough.
I would love it if it was real. I don't follow like things or anything, but I would love it if that actually happened and they've just written a fictional account.
Because I wonder, it's got to be. I wonder whether it is based on something real then, because the new book of knowledge. I'm going to have a look after this chat and see. Definitely. So I think we've just got two more stories to talk about. So we'll quickly talk about Blood Kiss by Athkins.
I can't remember else now since you said that one. So. Athkins. No, when you said Athkins, like, this is what I'm waiting for.
And I'm sure that because she obviously her real name's Nola Thacker, and we read The Roommate back in September, which was ghost written by Nola Thacker. But I'm sure she's got another name that she writes under, which is something like Tombstone or something like that. I can't remember. But yeah. Yeah. Oh, inside the cover put, would $10 have been a lot back then? Talking about that Guiccioli miniature.
It would. I remember going to like
Yeah.
with $10 in my, or well, £10 in my pocket, and being like, that could last me all day. I could buy myself some clothes and some sweets and like
Point horror.
Point horror. Horror was. I mean, this was £3.99.
Yeah, exactly.
$9.99, something like that nowadays. So.
Raj,
Get some penny sweets.
Raj just put lol tombstone. What? Yeah, I'm sure it's something like that. I can't fully remember, but I'm sure like it's like Tom B Stone or something. So it's like tombstone.
I'm going to I think a pseudonym that's exactly like that.
so Athkins, yeah. So she likes a good pseudonym.
Yeah.
But yeah, so before Twilight, there was this short story, Move Over Normal Boys. Yeah. Unless you're a suspected vampire, then the girls are definitely not interested in this story. So essentially, this one is about 3 girls are like perving over this mysterious, gorgeous, but pale, with black hair and a proper living doll.
You mean this?
Oh, hello.
The star of that story.
Oh, I love that you've got that there. Honestly, that's just brilliant. But yeah, so they're perving over this guy, and everyone at school is convinced he's a vampire, but he couldn't possibly be a vampire. Could he? So Delia, apparently there's 3 friends, isn't there? So there's Delia, who you could always hear coming, Valerie, who's quite frail and waif-like, and then Elizabeth, who's the narrator inside the covers, laughing at your your cardboard. We love it.
My friend Emma, who gave it.
Oh dear. And then Karen, for my birthday one year, covered his face with Adam Devine's face and sent me a little video, and it was so cool. Adam Devine. Have to get an Adam Devine chat in there. So basically, they all want to date this guy. Elizabeth goes to the library to research about vampires because they're absolutely convinced. And apparently the library is where the non-cheerleaders hang out. Yeah.
Definitely. I like that. And you said that this is before Twilight, there was this. I hadn't actually made that connection. And now I'm like...
Oh, yeah, so basically, and this guy's name, by the way, is Ken.
Doll.
Ken Doll. Was that his real name, or did they just call him Ken?
No, they said he's Ken and he looks like a Ken doll. He's the
Ken the vampire.
Yeah. I am now seeing him as Edward Cullen walking through the door with like the wind machine.
Oh god, Ken the vampire. That just makes it funnier. Yeah, like this the wind machine going off. Oh dear.
The Barbie brand should really do a Halloween version of Ken and Barbie where they are bound.
That would be so cool. So Elizabeth has got a real big thing for Ken. And she even writes his name in her notebook with a little love heart round it. But as Delia...
Bill did for whichever people that they liked.
yeah, little hearts, little doodles. And then, when he tried to scribble them out so they didn't say.
Yeah.
Oh, dear. Yeah, Nikki's put, not as catchy as Angel Spike or Dracula. Well, I don't know, it might catch on. Ken the vampire. It sounds spooky. Oh dear. Oh, it's like, can you imagine Athkins sitting there? She's like, what should I call my unsuspecting vampire? Oh, Ken.
The red wine and laughing evilly.
Oh dear.
I would love to go fly on the wall for any of these guys, but like, they were just like...
Oh dear. Inside the cover said, my friend has George Clooney in her lounge. Oh,
Does she dress him up at Christmas? Because I put tinsel around his neck at Christmas.
Oh, that's sweet. Oh, I've just got my husband. That's not... Need a cardboard cutout.
Argue. He's really good to shout at when stuff goes wrong. So
that sounds good.
No one back. Doesn't do the dish. So, you know.
Oh, dear. I can't have it all. We can't have it all. Yeah, she does dress it up to George Clooney. I love that. I'm missing out. I need one.
Can we get a Tales Point Horror Book Club cardboard cutout husband?
That sounds good. Inside the cover said dress him up. Well, yeah, I'll dress him up with some
He's really hard to dress up though, because he's got his hand stuck in his pocket, so you can stick stuff in his arm.
I'm not even going to say what I was going to say. It's too rude for this chat. So basically, Delia, Elizabeth's friend, gets in there first and dates Ken, and the next day she comes in wearing this scarf, and then Val then gets in there straight away, dates him, but she doesn't talk about what happened because they seem to break up the next day. Yeah,
you don't kiss and tell.
Don't kiss and tell, just wear a scarf. And Ken then asks Elizabeth out, and they go and see this horror flick.
Yep.
And she cozies on up to him, being all scared. And then she basically, there's a scene at the end when they're in the car together, and she basically outright asks him, "Are you a vampire?" To which he kind of says no, and then gives her like this weird love bite thing. But then his eyes glow red, and then hers do too. So like, I had to reread the end of this because I wasn't entirely sure. So were they both vampires?
No, I think that because it was something like at the end that she was the one that could kind of accept him for who he was, because everyone else went out. They just wanted to be with the vampire because it was cool, and they'd like seen, you know, all of those vampire movies on TV, and they just wanted to be with him because it would be really cool to be with a vampire. But then when they get into that situation where he's like, "I want to suck your blood," and they're like, maybe not. That's gonna be and then we're like, "Oh, come to me."
And Ken was like, "I want to give you a love bite."
Yeah.
I don't know. I
Count from Sesame Street. But
that's who. Yeah.
One.
One. Oh no, I sounded like Guiccioli.
Guiccioli. They're all they really are.
Oh dear.
The guy at the Museum of Art was also this vampire.
So I don't know. I took it. I must have misread it then, or anyone who's like in the comments, let me know what they thought, because I read it that in the end it was implying they were both vampires, and she actually found her vampire love.
Because he did something where didn't she lick his finger or something? There was something.
I'm glad you added finger then, Karen.
In a dodgy way. I think that he'd bitten himself, and she took the blood from the finger, I think, or something like. I don't know if it's my notes, but it was.
Raj just put. I thought the same as what Cameron said. I just totally didn't get it then.
Because everyone that he dates, there was a bit that I've written down here saying that Ken gets more pale and romantic and interesting and gorgeous, which is the normal thing of like when you're in the 90s, this skinny boy with like the tight little trousers and darkness and the dark hair and stuff is one that like all the girls were after.
Yeah.
So, like getting paler and like, hotter because he looks more and more skinny and death-like. And but then as soon as he's with her, then he's got someone to actually feed on, because the other guys weren't letting him feed. I think.
I think okay.
And be like, "Someone please be my love," so I can survive the night.
Interesting. Okay, so so Rogers put, she basically accepted him for who he was.
Yeah.
Inside the cover said, "Yeah, I thought the same." Oh, okay. I totally, really.
He couldn't have been a vampire because Kate was feeding everyone extra garlic at one point. She gave an extra garlicky pizza to Val to see if Val was actually a vampire now. So
okay, right, okay. This took a whole different meaning then to. I was just like, oh, they were both vampires, because she goes on about like what I wonder what it's like. Well, how do a vampire and a vampire kiss?
I've written it down. She bites him back and then offers herself. There you go. Bit him.
Okay, my theory was wrong. Did you like this one?
I did, but I didn't make the connection. I'm a huge fan of Twilight, even though it's like everyone says it's rubbish. I like it. And now reading this, I'm like, this really is just Twilight, isn't it?
It is, yeah. So obviously this was before. Oh, was it before Twilight? Yeah, it would have been before Twilight. Yeah. But the 90s was only 10 years ago, Karen.
I know.
It was only 10 years. So yeah, so you kind of you liked this one then. Yeah. I do like a vampire story, I have to admit.
I did feel sorry for the guy that Elizabeth went to the movies with Colin Harper, and I was like, oh, because it's the scene from Twilight where she goes with the other boy that
yeah,
and it's like doing that thing with the hand where it's like put my hand
oh dear. Oh,
and he just goes home.
Oh, okay.
Scene though.
So, yeah, it is now. Yeah, and inside the covers for
Point horror books, quite frankly.
Inside the covers, but I like Twilight too, and I thought it was 5 years ago talking about the 90s. Yes, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, Deathkins Point Horrors. I don't think we've done one yet, but she has got a bit of an MO where it gets a bit confusing.
Yeah.
So it doesn't surprise me that I got a little bit confused.
Yeah.
Because her Point Horrors. Yeah, we'll have to do one, and then you'll know what I mean. You'll be like, what? the cemetery is an interesting one. So
read it because I think I've read most of the Point Horrors that I have.
Yeah.
It's just I've forgotten them over the years. So when I'm reading, I'm like, this sounds really familiar.
Yeah, I do that as well. Like I think, oh, this is sounding a bit. It's coming back to me now. I remember, and then I remember who like the twist is, and that happened to me with the Lifeguard when we read the Lifeguard.
Yeah.
Nikki's put. I was confused too. Thank you, Nikki. It wasn't just me. I didn't get it. I just didn't. Yeah, I
think it's like really quickly written at the end because I did write in there that she bit him back, so I'm assuming that's the technical magic of it. It's not the same as it's kind of the same but not the same. As long as she's bitten him, she's a vampire now.
Yeah, yeah.
So maybe they only got bit, but they wouldn't bite him back.
Oh dear, yeah. The scarf. Quick, get the scarves.
Did you say what season it was? Because that would be really funny if it was like the height of summer. They're all coming in. They're all just like
with the scarves. Oh dear. Yeah, I've just found it. I don't know. I obviously must have gone over my head and I just didn't get it. But as I say, I do find that with Deathkins books a little bit. I get a bit confused.
I find that like the anthologies because obviously there's like. It says 13, but there's 14 stories because one of them is split into.
Well, yeah. And that caused a bit of controversy on my voting poll because I split Collect Call 1 and Collect Call 2, which we'll chat about just quickly to finish off the chat. Yeah. I split them as two separate stories, and the amount of people that messaged me saying, "You are mean, this is one story," and I'm like, "What?"
In fairness, let me say 1 month later.
So yeah, it was like my little joke that was when I did that poll. I was laughing.
Did you find you get confused between the stories though? Because there's a lot of the stuff in like Collect Call and the vampire stories. I kept thinking it's the same thing. Like, I'm so glad I was going, oh, this happened in this story. And then going back going, wait, I'm just reading my notes. That didn't happen. That happened.
No, that's true. That's true. So, yeah. Look, Eddie's video. No, it's two stories, I tell ya.
It is two stories, but it's a bit like the Langoliers. Two stories, but it's one story.
Yes. So funny enough, it's funny how we're coming to talk about Collect Call 1 and 2, so we'll talk about it together. So it kind of kicked off the anthology and ended the anthology, so it's kind of nice that it's just naturally that we're talking about this last.
But yeah,
so I would like to note at the beginning that classic Christopher Pike, where the 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 title has no meaning. There is no collect call in the book, in the story.
I didn't even pick up on that. I'm just like ignoring the titles of the story.
Yeah, there was no reverse charges. But in a kind of way, it's kind of, I thought it was a clever play on words, because there was collect call is a reverse charge, and in the first part of the story at least, she has to reverse what's happened. So I thought, oh, that's quite clever.
Yeah. Really
yeah,
cool.
yeah. So basically, it's about Janice, Adam, who's not popular, and Caroline Spencer, who walks around with her cheerleader megaphone, and is obviously very popular. And they both kind of fancy this mysterious boy, surprise, surprise, called Bobby Walker. And yeah, so he has all the girls sweating. He wears this black leather jacket, which one of the characters said, does he ever wash it?
Never.
Which made me laugh. And he has this like black hair and stern face, a proper mysterious boy. And basically he beats up people for calling him names like Bobby. His name. So you call him by his name. That's it. That really made me laugh. It's like, oh, what did he call? What made him beat up that boy? He called him Bobby. That's his name.
Yeah. What name would he want to be called, do you think? The Black Walker?
The Black Walker, yeah.
I mean, it. How anyone didn't make the connection when he gave them a tape. Like, if my school, if I handed them a tape and said, like, my last name is Harding, and said it's the Black Harding tape, there you go. That's good to you messing about on the tape, like, pretending you can sing. Yeah.
Oh dear, yeah. So yeah, but how they didn't make that connection, I agree, definitely. So essentially, Janice drunk drives Caroline home because she's had about like 8 to 9 beers, but she counts them backwards. So she's got like a pack of beers.
So she's only really had.
Yeah, so that was a bit confusing. But she's still drunk driving at the end of the day, isn't she? Which we do not advise.
No.
And basically, Janice and Caroline, who seem to be like mortal enemies about this boy, they argue and they go over the cliff.
Yeah.
But
the reason being that they go over the cliff, though, is that she punches her in the face whilst driving. It's like, why would you do that? You know you're going to die. Like, the driver. Like, you can tell stuff, but you don't mess or like.
Yeah, like.
Anyway.
Yeah. And they're like listening to the tape that Bobby's give them of this Black Walker, and it's got like dodgy lyrics in it. So basically, the slap happens. They go over this another cliff.
Yeah.
And there's this whole process then of like Janice like moves Caroline into the driver's seat.
Yeah.
To make it look like she was driving and she crashed the car. Then she kind of steps like only a few steps backwards before the car blows up. I mean, surely you would like run.
I think a lot of Chicago fire, you would die.
But she only like she only steps like a few steps away. So she's obviously made this decision. She's going to make it look like Caroline was driving so she doesn't get into trouble. And then she gets home after this car's exploded, and there's like these haunting messages on her answering machine from someone who should be dead. So from Caroline. So it's just
angrier and angrier as well. Like, pick me up,
pick me up.
Take me to the party. Like, why would she be calling her in the first place? Because they don't talk to each other. It's mates.
And it must have been like, and oh god, that music as well. I meant to mention with the deep synthesizers.
Yes.
Just I can imagine. So basically, Caroline is leaving these voicemails and she should be dead.
Yeah.
So Janice goes to the hospital, and I think somebody tells her, "Oh, there is someone. Yeah, someone died, but her name wasn't Caroline."
Yeah.
And you're like, "Oh, who was it?"
I like how blasé she was. Like, she works in the hospital and doesn't have any bedside manner whatsoever. It's like, oh, have you seen this person? Oh, yeah, she's dead.
Yeah.
Like, that's not how you tell anyone. Like, are you?
Oh dear. Yeah, so she kind of like she wanders down into the morgue, the basement morgue.
Because that was one of the things I wrote down. Like, can you actually just,
I don't think so.
Wander into the morgue in a hospital? I don't think you can.
I wouldn't say so, but
I assume it would be someone on like a desk at the front, like, what are you here for?
yeah, like
police or investigative officers and things, but not just a person can walk in and check a toe tag.
Yeah, because like in Final Destination, they break in.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe she was like she broke in. I don't know, but essentially she finds the body, and on the body the tag says Janice on there, not Caroline.
Doesn't put it together at that point either.
No. So she kind of drives home, doesn't she? And the tape or something.
Yeah.
What car does she use? Because she's trashed her car. So this is another car.
That's true. Was it a monk?
It's got to be. But this tape, the tape miraculously ends up in this other car. She shouldn't be allowed to drive. She should be banned. And basically then there's this whole weird thing of how then she regresses back to that. Well, it's the same night, isn't it? Because she goes to the hospital in these blood-stained clothes, and she kind of reverts back.
Why did she put the same clothes on?
I know, there's this whole thing.
Is she allowed to drive home after being in a cliff, like another cliff top plunge?
Cliff.
They're all connected. But she gets to the bottom of this cliff and is then allowed to just drive herself home.
Yeah.
If that was any hospital, it'd be like, okay, can you get someone to come pick you up? Because even slight possibility of concussion, you're not driving.
Yeah. And these blood-stained clothes, she actually puts them on at home. So she takes them off, dresses in something else, then to go back to the hospital, she puts the blood-stained clothes on. But it's quite an image.
Yeah.
It is quite a like icky image. But yeah, so essentially then she kind of regresses back to that night, and she has to kind of redeem herself. And I don't really know. And basically she has to be the one then that is in the driver's seat. So then Caroline survives, and then Caroline wakes up and in the hospital bed. So that was kind of like a summary of Collect Call 1.
I did wonder why on earth, like, if she's already gone through that thing and she's technically murdered the other person, because she was alive when they switched it around and the car explodes, she starts like yelling from the front seat until she dies. So it's a horrific kind of scene at the start. But if you know that and you've then gone, oh, I have to like put this right, why would you put it right in the way of you're going to get back in the car?
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
Reach over and pull her back in and get back as far as you can, or just pull her out of the car with you.
Yeah, exactly. So it's almost a little bit like trying to think what film it reminded me of, like a bit of just I'm not sure, it's on the tip of my tongue. I can't think what film I'm thinking of.
Before I Go or something, where the girl keeps same thing with
and it's like on
of death.
Oh a bit like Happy Death Day as well, when she's like in a loop. I think that's probably what I was thinking of. But Rogers put Bobby sounded like a nut job. Yes. In part 2, definitely. And
I wonder how many tapes is given out to the girl.
How many?
There's more stuff at the bottom of that cliff, like more cars.
And who was mad enough to listen to the whole song? It's like, Teddy producers put, I really like that Christopher Pike references the tech of the time. So, e.g., answer phones, VCRs,
Yeah.
And I wonder if he has done a book with modern tech, e.g. phones and social media. Yeah, that would
that'd
be
be
interesting. Because obviously in part 2, there's like reference of the tape deck as well. Yeah, I really love that. I love that nod to the 90s.
Especially like the tape from the voicemail.
Yeah.
The car, because we like, even I used to have that, was like a proper cassette tape in my voicemail that would record everything. You could take it out and stick it in your own cassette player.
Oh yeah.
You could keep messages that were from like your besties forever.
Oh,
they've all been
memories.
lost now, but you know.
Yeah. Oh, so sweet. I actually found like a cassette tape not long ago, and my mum's got a cassette player.
Yeah.
And it's actually got me and my friends like chatting to each other on there. And yeah, and then on the other side, because I used to do GCSE music when I was at school, and A-level music, and it's got me playing my guitar like in my garage, like singing and stuff. It was like really sweet to find. Like I was just like, what's on this random tape?
Yeah.
There was all this stuff. Oh, it was really sweet to listen to. A bit cringy, but yeah. Me singing all my like heartbroken love songs.
Yeah.
On my
I've
guitar.
got the same thing as you, because my brother made a radio station when we were kids, and he would start saying, "Hey, Rat fans," because they were like,
oh yeah.
Dad, who's passed away many years ago, and like me and a 6-year-old on there, and I sound really cute. But it's so nice. It's like a whole radio station with like Ghostbusters songs on it, and then my brother and me coming in and chatting.
Oh, I love that.
On the radio.
That's amazing. Such good memories.
Yeah.
Eddie's video put, that was really scary. Reminded me of a story of a friend who said she got a voicemail from her grandma just checking in on her and telling her to take care. But the grandma had been dead for days.
When was maybe it was like the last.
Yeah. Oh, that's giving me like a bit of a shiver down my spine. And Nikki's put the days of listening to cassettes in the car. Oh yeah. Having to push the button to turn them, to take them out and turn them over. Yeah, that's what I was doing with that cassette. I found I was like fast forward, because obviously my mum's got this thing, and then turning it round. And Nikki's put, I'm guessing Bobby's cassette wasn't like the top 40 we used to record every Sunday.
Oh
no, it was like, I'm a dark walker bee, black walker bee.
I love the whole lyrics. It's like it was a bit like Lord of the Rings, where they put all the poetry and the songs in, and it's just like an entire page of point horror dedicated to Bobby's song. None of it made sense. I was reading it going like, that wouldn't entice me into doing anything. It's just random.
Oh dear. So then we jump into like part 2. So I've just realised the time's getting on, so I do apologise. But part 2 is that did you say it was like a month later?
Yeah, I've written down on here 1 month later. ...
1 month later. So it's a month later, and Caroline, who has now survived, goes on this date with Bobby Walker, the mysterious boy. He wants to see this horror film, and because he loves all the death scenes. I kind of like that.
I should a date with him though, because he came into the hospital when she was waking up, and he was like really creepy.
Yeah.
Go on a date with this guy. I would be like out of there.
You wouldn't. You'd say no. Not Caroline. She's like, yeah, with a megaphone, yeah. But yeah, he loves all the death scenes in a horror film, and that it kind of reminded me of when I was at school, a boy I went on a date with, and he was like that. He was like, let's go and see this horror because I want to see the death. And I was like, ooh.
Yeah. Describe his car, like the car he's driving is a 59 Chevy convertible, and it's like a little bit fancy for a school kid. Like,
well, he ain't no normal school kid. No. So he kind of makes her watch this horror film, and then he said, watch it again. There's something you haven't seen. You need to watch closely. So he makes her watch this horror film again, and then she sees flashbacks within the film of what happened to her that night with Janice. And does she see like the bit where Janice put her in the thing? I can't remember.
Bobby being an absolute horror. Like,
Yeah.
I paid to see this movie twice, but I'm not going to buy you a drink or refreshments.
You didn't buy her
Because I'm
anything.
planning on murdering you. But like, it just turns up, doesn't get out of the car. Gets in, she's like, "Oh, you look good." Like, I've never looked better. Like, you meant to say she looks good too.
Not Bobby Walker with his leather jacket that he never washes.
And the whole film is like, how can you tell what's real?
But after this film, though, it gets worse because he drives her to this graveyard.
Yeah.
And he whips out his boombox and ties her to the tree. So he's obviously got like rope and that.
Yeah.
So like, I just don't understand why she would go with him. She wasn't tied up at that point until she got to Janice's grave.
I think she's just an idiot. I think it's like one of these true crime ones where you just see a cool mug, by the way. It's awesome. I love it. You know, you see these true crime dramas where it's just like someone's been an absolute idiot and just been like, "Oh my god, I got some attention." I'm like, really? Like, I don't know if it's a decent car, but he's got a car.
Yeah, I mean, but she was the popular one, the cheerleader and that, so she really didn't need like the extra.
Dated enough people to know that he's a crazy killer.
Nikki's put all the signs of a bad date. Yeah, once they whip out the rope and the boom box, we know we're like. Oh,
it's a bit like Snowman though, where they walk through the forests, like the other that we read. Like, just come on this like hike through the middle of the forest to this small meadow. It felt like, we're going over here. Why? I just real, but what are we? Drive yourself home. Come on.
Oh, Eddie's got to go to work. Thanks, Eddie. Thanks for joining me. Nikki's laughing at whip out the boom box. Yeah, you know.
I mean,
unless they're whipping out a boombox, then your date's not going to be good, you know.
Yeah.
Remember that. Point horror advice.
Yeah.
So basically, cut a long story short, Caroline realises that Bobby Walker is possessed by the Black Walker. Not a euphemism. That's about the boombox, not the Black Walker. And apparently, the Black Walker is the guy who's done the tape. And he starts digging out Janice's grave. And he wants to see how she smells. And he has to keep stopping digging to get out of the grave to rewind the tape in the
because the song that he's recorded is some kind of magical possession song or something. It was was it like the demon that's possessed him gets that song? So it was very hand wavy.
Oh dear. And then Caroline, while he's down in the grave, Caroline kind of hears some whispers saying, record. And then so she decides to press record with her feet.
Yeah.
So she somehow gets her feet. So I take it her feet weren't tied up.
I'm assuming it's just her hands, which means that she really, as a cheerleader, should be a little bit ambidextrous to be able to be like,
yeah.
Just
yeah.
some kind of cheer flip. Get herself out of the tree.
So she manages to press record with her feet and sings a hymn, Silent Night, and records it over, I presume, over his possession song. And then somehow she kind of escapes from the rope and kind of hits him over the head. So I think he realise she's recorded over it because she's singing Silent Night, and he gets out of the grave.
And she's singing quiet enough as well that he doesn't hear, but loud. It gets recorded loudly.
Like, how did she sing it that quiet? Like, Silent Night.
Yeah. Was she using her feet to hold it right up to her face?
Flexible. Yeah. Oh dear. So yeah, she gets out of the rope. I'm not sure how. And then she ends up hitting Bobby. I shouldn't call him Bobby, he's going to beat me up.
Yeah.
Bobby over the head with a shovel and kind of like decapitates him. And kind of leaves him in the grave next to Janice's ashes, because it turns out Janice was cremated, so her body wasn't even in there anyway. It was just some ashes, so he would have been well peed off.
I felt so bad for Janice as well, because it's like, you're going to get buried with this murderer and possibly the remains of his ghostly possessed demon.
Yeah, like, just like...
This feels like the origin story for an even worse thing to happen, like a really, really bad demon.
So then, like, she kind of then just goes off into the sunset.
Yeah.
And after she's decapitated him. And yeah, it was just a bit like...
It was really strange. I think it would look really cool if it was on film, but it was such a weird... kind of movie. I did like they had a quote in it that was like, "Why is it that the cutest guys always turn out to be the psychopaths?" Pretty much.
Oh, that's so true. Remember, yeah. If they look cute, they're going to be a psychopath. If they whip out the boom box and the ropes, that's it. Had it. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I liked it just for its craziness.
Yeah, it was really well written. A good story in there, but I was like, what on earth? Like, you've got this song. Because he even referred back to it and said, like, the only reason that she hit you is because of the song. And so I was like, how did you get her to do that from those words? It says, like, secretly between the lines, hit her. Like, there's nothing that says take violence. Well, walk her baby.
But maybe the tape did possess her. So it possessed her in the end, and then she goes off to carry on and make her own tape.
Cool. Yeah.
Pressing record with her feet and, you know, and stuff.
She's the White Walker.
Yeah. But yeah, Raja's put that bit made me lol. How did you press record with her feet? Some people are like, I mean, I'm not a foot person, but yeah, some people can do lots of clever things with their feet. But yeah,
the fact that she was tied up whilst doing it, that was like, hang on, wasn't this thing about a meter away from her? Like,
how did she do it?
Yeah.
But yeah, I liked it, and obviously with Christopher Pike, we're used to like he goes that extra mile. I mean, they had to split his story. It was that long. They split it into 2 parts. Essentially, it was the same.
Yeah.
But different. But yeah, so you know,
I feel like just this whole deadline, he got the task to do and just went, I'm going to do this properly.
And he was like, you can't cut my story short.
Yeah, just make it into 2. I'm going to have 2 stories in here.
Make it into 2, the start and at the end. But I thought it was quite a nice ending to the book, because I kind of just like closed the book then and thought, I'm not entirely sure what happened, but I think I liked it.
No, my favorite about this whole book though was actually in the introduction, because it's got no harm. It's something like no harm ever came from opening a book. I've written something like that. Where is it?
Oh yeah.
When we can't close the book, that is horror. And I was like, I've written on here, it's very mummy. No harm ever came from opening a book.
Yeah, no, that's so true. That's so true. Oh dear. And I made a quick note just to finish off the chat that I loved the you're probably like me, you know, when you open a book and you want to see what the dedication is. I love seeing it. And if it's something like quirky and funny, like it catches my attention. So this one said, so T Pines wrote, "To Daddy, the only one who truly believes that monkey hips and dumplings rule." And I kind of love that. It's obviously like a meaning between her and her dad, and I just thought that's just brilliant. I love it, and I love stuff like that. But yeah, I think that is all of the story. So we've managed to, like, I know we've gone like...
We've reviewed everything.
Yes, we've done everything from this book, because they were all just pretty good.
And 14 of them.
14, not 13. Yeah. Christopher Pike ruined it.
The more scary number.
Yes.
Only to be Friday.
But yeah, but no, it's been really great. So thank you for coming back on and chatting about it. Yeah, I'm so glad we managed to cover them all, and I obviously I didn't expect to like all of them. So when I set up the chat, I thought, oh, I'll just be like one or two good ones
Yeah,
in
like
it.
pick favourites.
Yeah, and so I was like, oh, we'll just pick our favourites. But no, they were all
It's point horror. They're
pretty
always
good.
good. When they're
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, they were definitely more grittier than our usual point horror. And I liked that. It was something different. So we're definitely doing an anthology again.
Yes.
But thanks everyone for joining in. Thank you for sticking with us like all this time and chatting with us. And Karen,
of course, 9 minutes over.
I know. Sorry, there's too much.
Honestly, we could go for hours.
I know. But yeah, thanks for joining. And Karen, thank you. I love you lots and lots and lots. And thank you for joining in. Because I know you've had like a really busy weekend as well. So I really appreciate it. And yeah, we'll be back next month to talk about the diary. And the guest announcement for that will go up tomorrow.
Thank you for all voting for the only book I didn't have in that. Have the other one.
Well, the body was winning at some point, then all of a sudden it changed to the diary.
I voted, said 60%. I was like, oh, thank goodness, because I don't have the other one. And I checked it a day later. I was like,
I know. But all I'm going to say is you voted for the one who wrote Hacker in this book.
Oh,
yes. So we'll see what this has in store. And Larissa has read this already and she tells me, oh boy, it's going to be one of them. So yeah. And a few people have found it hard to find. So if you are struggling, let me know, because sometimes I can find like little deals or have a look around for you. I don't mind. So yeah. So we'll read that one and I'll pop the guest announcement up tomorrow. So that will go up. But yeah, thank you. I voted for the body, Karen Speedway chick, but we will do the body because I think that's the third time I've put it in a vote. Yeah. And it never seems to, it seems to win and then it just drops. So yeah. But yeah, thank you guys and thank you, Karen. And we'll see you soon. Bye. Bye.